welcome to Furious Driving, and Furious Flipping is back on with a vengeance. And I'm currently in the midst of a caper-free collection, I think that you could call this. Because I'm currently driving home in a new acquisition which has been purchased purely for the purpose of parting company with and making a few pounds to move on to the next car. I don't know if you can see it through my rear window or not at the moment, but there is a really nice Mark II Mini in sandy beige with a white roof, which is giving me inspiration, frankly, because I've been thinking about doing my sandy beige Mini with a black roof or a white roof. I kind of settled on black, but that looks really good. That is something of a tangent, so let's get back on track. So no, the Rover 75 hasn't sold yet. I'm still umming and ahhing about that, but this was a little side offer that was too good to be true, so it's here for a very, very short stay. This time though, I'm 100% not going to do my usual thing of just falling in love with the car I shouldn't, because, well, there's one really big reason. Let's pull over and have a look around it, and I'll explain why, and I think you'll probably see why. But you might want it, so don't let it put you off. Furious Driving, proud to be supported by Bidding Classics, the online classic car marketplace with more cars added every week. Diamond Bright, protecting, cleaning and caring for the Furious fleet and for yours with 10% off using code FD10. And Lancaster Insurance cover the Furious fleet. They are one of the biggest specialist insurers in the UK, covering all areas of vintage to modern classic cars and motorbikes. Follow the links in the description below. Okay, so now we can have a proper look around the Fiat, and I'll show you all around it, and I'll show you why this isn't a car I want to keep. Hold on a second, let me take you off the windscreen. Whoops, there we go. So we've got this fantastic dashboard. This car is TPO based, I believe, same as the 145. So we've got the curious dashboard, interesting radio, pretty cool dashboard. All good so far, and it's actually a really nice colour as well, which I'll show you in a second. However, it's not the lack of cup holders, it's the addition of an automatic. I hate automatics with a passion, and well, 90s automatics were not the finest hour for the breed. So that means this car is an easy sale for me, because I'm not going to get attached to anything with a self-shifter unless it's particularly special in some other weird random way. Right, let me show you around the outside of the car, because this is quite an interesting beast. Okay, so we have got ourselves a 1998 Fiat Brava 1.6 Auto, 16 valve, cool colour. I'm sure it's got some fancy name. And it's only got 78,000 miles on the clock. I believe it's one owner from new, one careful old lady kind of situation. So there's a few little parking dings around it, but otherwise it's in pretty solid shape. These were really interesting because, like the 145 and 146, we've got a 4-door, well I say 5-door and a 3-door, but they've got different names and totally different tail ends. So the 5-door, which is the Brava, has got these really unusual triple tail lights, which is really interesting. Now you might be thinking, this does look a lot like the Fiat Marea weekend that Ian Seabrook and I borrowed when we were up at the NEC, and you'll be right in thinking that, because it is a very, very similar car. This is the Focus / Orion to Ford's Mondeo of the time, but I think they are based on much the same platform. And you might also be thinking you hadn't seen one of these in quite a long time, and again, you'd be right. The person I got this car from told me he thinks there are about 4 remaining of the Brava automatics on the road. I think there's certainly well under 100 of all Brava and Bravo variants completely, which is ridiculous. So yeah, this is an interesting car. I mean, it's not mint by any means, but it has been serviced throughout its life. It's got a current MOT, and it's basically a rust-free solid car. MOT'd only a couple of months ago, so we know it's been pretty good. I'll talk you through a few little outsides, because you might be looking at buying this car, mightn't you? So I'll start at the back. We've got a few little bumper scuffs down here, which goes with part of the course. A little tiny crack just there. A few little marks around the lock and the finger grabby thing. I will give this a full-on polish up later on to try and give this the best chance of looking nice it possibly can. We've got a little mark in the paint just there. It had a little bit of welding on both sides under here, both left and right. I've been told who did the work, and I know it would have been done decently by them. These little rubber bits around the door handles have perished, which is a typical 1990s rubber thing, especially with Fiat. The coupes with the rubber dashboards are just going weird and sticky to touch. Thankfully, nothing like that on this car. This wing, okay, I think. Little, most tiny pin dent just there. A few little marks on the front edge of the bumper. Perhaps it's been nudged into something in a garage, perhaps. I guess maybe a back of a van, maybe. I'm guessing it's parked into a cupboard in the garage, to be perfectly honest. And there's a small dent just here. These are listing everything I can possibly think of to give you a fair assessment as possible. This side, it was done a bit more neatly when this repair was done. Inside the car, we have got fantastic 1990s pattern fabric. I mean, this is a beautiful looking thing, isn't it? It's kind of a hard wearing thing. I will run the Bissell over it and give it a bit of a spruce up as well. You'll see how it could be perhaps a little brighter coloured than this once it's had a bit of a clean up, but currently it looks certainly presentable, and the headlining is awesome as well, no sagging just there. And we've got a sunroof, which I think is electric actually. I've only done 40 miles in this car, and this is the first time I've seen it, so you're learning the car with me as we go. So if I'm missing anything, please do add it in the comments. Got this really unusual dashboard thing, which is the thing that Fiat and Alfa did back in the 90s. Glove box with a tiny cup holder. This is your tea shelf, not that exemplary. Door card got a similar kind of weird 90s groovy pattern just there. Back of the car, more of this fabric. Do you know, I think actually it's not dirty. I think it's just actually a yellow finish in the fabric. I thought it was maybe a little bit dirty, but I think it's actually how it's meant to be. Wind up windows in the back, electric windows in the front. Need to use the key or the button for the boot. I'll show you that in a second. Driver's side, 2 electric front windows, manual remote mirrors. A little bit of wear on the driver's seat, but the carpets look very tidy indeed. Tag for the boot, we'll have a look in there. Raisable, lowerable seat height. That automatic, which has also got sport and ice buttons. And this radio is really very interesting. Typical 1990s anti-theft ergonomic kind of thing. I will say that some of the LCD has gone the way of the Dodo just there, so it's seen better days. But check out this dashboard. This is really a cool dashboard. There's intersecting stripy dials just there. It does cruise very nicely. We've got airbag as well. So a quick look in the back. Big old boot, really big boot. I'll come to that in a second. Looking under the boot, we have got all the toolkits there. Got a spare wheel that looks like it's original to the car and has never been used. Still got the red dye on it. This is because for about 10 years now apparently it has had an advisory on surface rust on the rear springs. So someone bought rear springs at some point but has never fitted them, and I'll be honest, it doesn't feel like it needs them. But they come with the car. If I'm feeling really bored and there's nothing on TV, maybe I'll change them, but one way or another you're getting them possibly as an add-on accessory. So if you are looking for a Photo or Radwood type car to purchase for the summer and sort of wow people at the shows, this underbonnet area is the kind of thing you're looking for. This is just monstrously original. I mean, look at the paint down here on these chassis legs. This is just absolutely lovely. This area here is another Fiat thing that likes to rust. In this case, look how shiny and perfect it is on both sides. It looks absolutely magnificent. The plastics look nice. Everything just looks really, really good. It's a really well cared for, not particularly high mileage car. Now, I'll go through the paperwork with you in a second. Now I know it has been kept up to date on the servicing, but it was like a small one-man band kind of place. I'm not sure the book got stamped every year because it was a one-owner car who was keeping it forever until they decided to get rid of the car, which is to offload it. So they knew it was serviced, but didn't bother stamping the book as far as I'm aware. One thing we don't know though is how old the cam belt is. It was being kept up to date on service, so there's a good chance it was done on time, but we don't have any idea when, so probably cam belt wouldn't be a bad move on this thing. Let's have a look at that paperwork. So here's our nifty little book pack. We've got the key I've been driving with, a rather natty little Fiat keyring. Fortunately inside here we have got spare keys. We've got the second blue key, which looks like it was the one that was used by the owner, and most importantly we've got the red key because Fiats of this era, you absolutely 100% need to keep this key somewhere safe, because you cannot make new keys without it. Lots of important stuff. You can't do things without that thing. What else have we got in here? Well, it's a 1998 car, but I've just found a receipt for the car from 1999 for £6,500. So I suspect maybe it was a fleet car or something for its first year, given that I've just seen this 1-year-old receipt. Got our aftercare book. Has got a full service history, so it was initially Fiat Fleet Department, Bathroad Slough. Okay, this might have been a press car in that case. Fiat Fleet, that is Fiat UK's own personal fleet. They're an internal company fleet, so all the press cars that go off to journalists for reviews are looked after there. Management cars, all that kind of thing, that would have all gone through this. So this was originally Fiat's own car, built like my Rover 75. That's really interesting. It was PDI'd, pre-delivery inspectioned by Fiat Fleet in 23rd of July 1998. A year later, almost to the day, 24th of July 1999, at 13,800 miles, Fiat in Aldershot serviced it, presumably for a customer. Most car company fleet cars only stay on the fleet for about 3 to 6 months, so that kind of makes sense. It did half a year with Fiat, got sold on 6 months later, first service with a customer. We've got intermediate service stamps after that, the most recent one being 67,900 miles, so about 10,000 miles ago, but that is in 2015, so it's done 10,000 miles in the last 8 years, so it's barely nudging 2,000 miles a year. But I'm told it was being kept serviced though. But I'm told it was being kept serviced, so it probably has had oil changes in the meantime, as far as we are aware. Our instruction books, there was a manual, an owner's manual in the boot, MOT, last... The MOT on it I think is until November. But all told, it's a pretty nice car, which, you know, will do someone who's looking for a curious retro car very well for the summer, if not for longer. An ideal second or third car if you're not doing big miles in it, perhaps. Let's get it back on the road though, drivers. So mechanically, it does look like it's a pretty good car. It's been well maintained as far as I know. It's annoying I haven't got actual up-to-date service record, so I don't really know when the last time it had an oil change was, and I don't know when the last cam belt was. Other than that though, it's got an MOT I think until November. I will double check that. And the only thing of note on there is the coil springs, which don't seem to be a problem. Well, would you look at that? The very limited EV charging here at Cobham Services is completely full with cars waiting. It always is. One slightly weird thing I've found with the car is that every time you turn the car off and on again, it restarts in sport mode, which means it wants to hang on to the gear to like the absolute red line. And it's a little bit weird that it chooses to default to that, because it's not really a particularly sporting car. It's a comfortable car, it's a family car. But every time you turn it on, I'm back in sport mode. Hey, red line me! But I guess it's Italian. This is the Italian way. I'll give another demonstration of the not particularly sporty car, but quite entertaining car, on this slip road, which is hilariously sharp. Right. 35 miles an hour, nudging 40. Yeah, this kind of list, if this was a ship, would be going down right now. Yeah, that's quite fun, that's quite entertaining. So this really is a brilliant car for someone looking for something just different and unusual to take to the shows this season, because no one else is going to have one. I'd be amazed if you saw a second Brava or even a Bravo to park alongside any of the big shows or small shows. And 90s is hot right now. You might be like me and thinking 1990s, that's not old enough to be classic. Then you realise it's 30 years ago. This thing, 1998, is 25. It's a 25-year-old car, so you're getting classic insurance on this. And it does look a bit dusty at the moment, but once I've machine polished it, it is going to be absolutely gorgeous. This kind of pinky red colour, dusky red colour I'll call it, it looks so nice when it's really shined up. and those little marks on it, it's the kind of thing a PDR guy could knock out in just half a morning and it'd look like new again. It drives really, really nicely. I mean, I'm cruising along 60 miles an hour on a dual carriageway. It's lovely and smooth. I was on some B roads a minute ago, and the steering is lovely and light. It's quite nicely weighted, so it does feel quite cool twisting through the corners. The thing is though, being an automatic, you don't have that level of engagement, you don't have that level of punching up and down through the gears. It has got a sport mode, which basically means it holds onto the red line all the time. So yeah, that's not great. It's not particularly relaxing and not particularly sporty either. The ride's quite nice. It bimbles along quite happily at most speeds. It seems quite comfortable, and it's pretty quiet as well. I mean, you're hearing me, I hope, talking quite normally. I'm not raising my voice to talk to you at all at the moment. But yeah, it's a nice little car. If it wasn't for the fact that it had the automatic, I would be tempted to keep it. I mean, it is perfect Festival of the Unexceptional or Radwood fodder. 1990s, super rare, when did you last see one? All that kind of thing. I mean, this is amazing. Thing is though, I've got too many cars. The circumstance of this car is, it is bought purely to sell. It's on the driveway for one reason and one reason only, and that is to try and make a few pounds to get on to the next one, which I have got. Well, I've actually got two end games. This is kind of a problem with this whole series. There are two very, very diametrically opposed cars that I'm trying to get onto the drive, and they're both, well, one's at rock bottom price at the moment, one's already started to rise, and so now is a bit late to be buying one already, and the other one is now is definitely the time to buy it. So I need to sort of get some cash moving quickly so I can try and jump on those bandwagons while I still can. If you're interested in this car, I will be doing a review of it on Friday probably, and I'm going to hopefully be doing a big old clean-up video, giving it a good old polish, unless of course someone buys it before I get a chance to do that, which is not impossible. So yeah, if you would like to spend £1,000 of your hard-earned cash on this Fiat Brava, and this is as rare as it gets, which is properly, what on earth is that spec? I remember the reactions that Ian and I got driving in Also Driven's Fiat Marea weekend up at the NEC back in November, and this is very much the same. I've only been in the car a short time today, but even that time, stopping at the petrol station, for example, I was getting looks. I was getting like, what on earth is that kind of looks? Because people just do not remember them, and those really cool tail lights just absolutely jump out at people. Okay, it's not a really fast cornering car. But yes, if you would be interested in putting this car on your drive, then send me an email to bodyintheboot@gmail.com or shop@furiousdriving.co.uk. Please don't use any of the social media channels because I just don't check them, and I'm really bad at spotting them. Facebook is the absolute worst. If you send me a message on Facebook, it's really hard for me to find it, so I will probably miss it. So please don't send a message on Facebook. I'm very bad at checking Instagram, so please don't send it on that, and I'm quite bad at checking Twitter as well. So email only if you're interested in this, and put the header, well, something about the Brava, obviously. Anyway, this is the car. If you're interested, let me know. Otherwise, you'll see some more videos of it in the next coming days. Hopefully there's not really anything to do to it, nothing to spend money on. Fingers very firmly crossed on that one. Right, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, you know the drill, and we'll see you again soon in a coming video.